GAU Studios.
Hey there gamers, D3 here, and you are watching a GAU exclusive. Today I am here with Adam and Shraman, who are the creators of Phoenix Covenant, which I know it's a big step to take, but you guys are creating essentially a card game from scratch.
Yes, we've been trying hard for a little over a year now. So.
Wow, and that's all it takes to get like this great of a product? I mean, look at this. You've got an amazing board set up here with a grid. You've got cards of all different types. You got these beautiful counters.
It's been a busy year, let me put it that way. We've don't get me wrong, we've put in hundreds, if not thousands of hours, or what it feels like, certainly in playtests, in development, in tweaking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Nice. So let's get started on talking about the game. So sure. What have you created here? Like what makes this different from everything else? You've got a grid, you've got cards. These are all disparate elements brought together here.
We like to describe our game as Magic meets Final Fantasy Tactics, or Yu-Gi-Oh meets Fire Emblem. Take your, collectible card game archetype and mash it with your favorite tactics game. The great thing about it is that merger allows you to get that fun, diverse playstyle of a game like Magic and really make it about what strategies you choose to employ and how good you are about outmaneuvering and outplaying your opponent, which is what Tactics really brings to the field.
I see. I know that like pay-to-win aspect of Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And like all the best cards cost so much money was always a big problem. So it's good to see that you're working to alleviate that.
Well, we don't like our wallets burning too much, so we don't want fellow gamers and certainly our future players to feel the same.
Absolutely not. Now, I understand that you've also fixed kind of like the mana flooding, mana screw issue that always plagues so many players, and you did it with this.
Yes,
right?
Our tracker. Yes.
So this is your resources for your game.
Correct. So the first dial is to allow you to track your life. This is one of those kind of classic reduce your opponent's life total to 0 kind of games. And so what you're trying to do is obviously reduce this total to 0 on the other dial. These other dials that you have are for your resources, your command points and your mana points. You'll normally start out with 0 to begin with, but you'll be able to build that up every turn with your essence gain.
So you get 2 essence a turn, you were saying, right?
Correct.
And now you can pour that into either 2 into 1 or 1 into each.
Exactly.
And that kind of impacts how your pool is building up of resources there?
Exactly. So your first turn, you could build 2 into command points. Maybe you spend a little bit of that, and then the next time around, you could add another 2 to your mana, or even split the difference, and then refresh both. So you'll be able to keep building that and building that and building that.
Nice. And now these resources are used to play one of your 3 card types, correct?
Correct.
So what are the 3 types here, and how does the payment work for putting them out?
Well, so nicely and conveniently, I almost don't know why, but we do have some cards out here.
Oh, how did this happen?
So we do have units, spells, and then we have structures. Now you can see some of our base, very, very base structures out, such as the hard points, but we do have one built on top of a hard point right now. That's called the blacksmith. Structures allow for strategic play, but also adjacency effects, what we're calling lane effects.
So this one costs 3 and 3.
Yes.
So you'd be able to play it on turn 3, conceivably, right?
Yes.
Roughly, yep.
With 6 resources? Gotcha.
And is a good initial play, really.
Okay, so you got the structures, you've got the units, and the spells.
Yes.
So presumably one would use units to go after structures?
Pretty much, yeah. You're trying to bring your units out into the field, bring them upfield, and then either go after hard points or go after the opponent's base.
Now,
do damage.
that's where this grid structure comes into play, right? Like, where your position really affects how you're doing, and I presume you have to move units up to structures or over to them in order to attack them?
Correct. You have to get in range, let's say. So, there are certain units, I think everything we have out here are melee units, but let's say if you're able to put in a ranged unit and it has a 2 range, you could put it 2 away from a structure. So here, conveniently, I do have a Tundra Explorer, thank you, Shiram, for bringing that in. And this is 2 away from a hard point, so I could, for its activation phase, let's say for that unit, be able to ping that hard point for a little bit of damage to then pass through to my opponent.
Now, how do you tell how much health a hard point has?
So hard points actually don't have a health value. Hard points always exist on the board, they always exist in the same place, and they are weak points for you in the sense that any damage that's dealt to a hard point is actually done to a player.
Oh, wow. So they link you directly to your enemy's bloodstream, essentially.
Right. The main way to do damage in the game is to move across the field and do damage to your opponent's base, which is behind their home row.
So kind of like chess in a way. You got to get over, or checkers, I guess.
Checkers,
you can
yeah,
get
I
your
guess.
kings over there.
Exactly. And so hardpoints provide you a nice shortcut. That's a little bit inefficient since hardpoints are armored on all sides, which means you do reduce damage.
Now, the armoring effect you're talking about is what you have around the outer sides of these cards here.
Yes.
And armor is essential for gameplay. If you want to hold up a reasonable example, the shield mains actually kind of our best.
Yep.
So the great thing about units in this game is that they all have armored sides, unarmored sides, and weak points. When you make an attack on a unit on an armored side, you actually only do half damage, rounded up. If you're attacking an unarmored side, you do full damage, and if you're able to attack a weak point, you critical hit and do 1.5 times damage, rounded up. So a lot of the game becomes about maneuvering, getting around your opponent's units, and hitting those weak points, which allows you to clear your opponent's side of the field pretty quickly and open that opponent up for attacks against their life.
Wow, so movement and facing, kind of like in Final Fantasy Tactics, really does have a big impact on how it's played.
Very much so. Very much so.
So that's cool. So what would like a fight between two characters look like here? Who
Sure.
would win? Who would lose?
So let's say we were rewinding a little bit, right? So so let's say I was able to bring in two of my units, Shield Maiden and a Tundra Explorer, and I moved them up the field. And in that time, Sharon was able to bring in both a Legion Knight against my Samurai, and then be able to build a Blacksmith. So we were in a face-off, let's say. So let's say it's my turn. I would, let's say I brought up to 4 mana points. I would be able to play Magic Shield on my turn. I play that, and then I'm able to place 3 shield on top of this unit, which, pardon us for, but it is a prototype, so we're using some dice to do some counters. So now this has some extra hit points. Then I can move in and go attack. This could get to my Samurai. I am attacking along armor, so it only does a little bit of damage, 2 damage or so. I could add on to that by firing with my Tundra Explorer because I am 2 away.
Oh, and he's a ranged attacker?
Yep.
He's a ranged attacker and he's not hitting an armored side,
Correct.
so he's going to do full damage.
Oh, nice.
So now-
Shraman gets the bad end out of this exchange here.
Correct, for the moment at least. Now, granted, if he had anything in hand, he could have played that in response, because we do have that kind of stack response, system.
Oh, I
right
see.
now.
That's a great way to go about it. I know Magic has that a lot. So if people would like to find out more about your game or purchase products, do you have anything for sale? Do you have a website, a Twitter, a Facebook group, perhaps?
So really good point, really good question. We do have a website. It's hikarigames.com or phoenixcovenant.com. We are on Facebook. You can find us, Phoenix Covenant, but we're also on Twitter, which is a little harder to find us, but it's PHX Covenant. And we are going to be kickstarting this weekend.
This weekend. All right, so people can look out for that this weekend.
Yes.
And that's really cool. I mean, there's like attacking structures. I'm seeing like MOBAs in this. I'm seeing trading card games with the different creatures attacking and moving, and I'm seeing Final Fantasy Tactics on the board. It's like an amalgamation of my favorite things from childhood, and let's be honest, today.
Yes, yes, 100%.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you for joining us at GAU Studios for this exclusive. Please be sure to check out Phoenix Covenant. This week, I believe they're coming to Comic-Con, and what was the second con you're coming to?
Geek Girl Con over in Seattle.
Geek Girl Con and Comic-Con this week, so check them out, and that's all we have for you today. You stay classy, gamers.